Real life street stars. Know what time it is.
Real life street stars. We got Jonathan. Hey,
Yo, what's up, man?
what's up, man? How you been?
Man, I've been doing fantastic. How about you?
I've been doing great, man. A lot of things went down since we last spoke. So I know there's a lot of things in your world that's been going down that's been very crazy, and we're here to talk about it.
Crazy. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, since I did your all's, show with Jaguar, and then you had me back on by myself, and then stuff started to go viral, I ended up getting a book deal and
Wow.
to tell more of the stories. So for like the last 4 months, I've been working on a book with this billionaire. I don't want to say his name or anything yet because they want to wait for the, reveal and everything else. But um, I've been writing a book, and as I'm going through the book, I'm starting to think about all these things that I've went through, through like the last 4 years, some things that we've touched on in your show, and it just took me back into those moments,
Right.
right? So like one of the things that was crazy is for like the last since 2012 into 2022, I was partners with Johnny Depp's family,
Right.
with his nephew, right?
Hmm.
And this is one of the things that's in the book is, and I've been so busy, right, that I haven't really stopped to reflect because I've been trying to get back to the point of where I was then, before like all the blacklisting happened, before like all like the, craziness happened in my career, right? But anyways, Johnny Depp's nephew, his name is Billy Rassel. He's also part of his management team. I met him back in Kentucky, in Louisville, Kentucky, because Johnny Depp's mother, his name is Betty Sue. She used to have a farm in Lexington, and which is Billy's grandmother. And so Johnny had his nephew take care of his mother's farm in Lexington. And Lexington is like a 45-minute away from Louisville, Kentucky, right? And so I would spend a lot of time with the family. I'd spend a lot of time with the nephew. We do a lot of projects, and to be honest, he was like he would always end up fucking shit up because I don't know. He was like toxic, but because he was Depp's nephew, he would always have these opportunities. So when after we went number one with Eric B. and Rakim, and then I was viral with the Notorious Big project and like Rolling Stone, Spin magazine, he was like, I want you to come to LA and I want you to do this Marilyn Manson project with my uncle Johnny Depp. Right. So
Right. Right.
because Johnny Depp and Marilyn Manson, they're like best friends. Like they're like weirdos, bro. Like they're like dark and like crazy and like, it's like the craziest thing. Like, I encourage all the viewers to go look at the video with Johnny Depp and Marilyn Manson called Say 10, which is SAY number 10. And you can see how weird and twisted these guys really are. Right. So we set up to record at Depp's studio. We're at Depp's house on his cul-de-sac. He lives in Hollywood. And so he has like all these homes in Hollywood, like the whole cul-de-sac, like 9 homes, right? And all his family members and all his staff, lives there. And he has this recording studio where like the Red Hot Chili Peppers recorded, Snoop Dogg's recorded, everybody's recorded at the studio. So of course we're like geeked that we're recording at Johnny Depp's, studio. And we're working on the Marilyn Manson project. During the project, Marilyn Manson got canceled because of somebody came out and accused him of, like all kinds of like weird shit, right? And so in the middle of the project, we get canceled. We change it to this thing called Nirvana Reimagined. And Johnny Depp was real close with the remaining members of Nirvana. They played together, Dave Grohl. So he was going to have them on the project. So, anyways, make a long story short, one night, Billy and I, Johnny Depp's nephew, were like, he's twisted, man. And he just had like a stroke like a month before. He wasn't supposed to drink or do drugs or anything like that. And he gets like twisted back, drunk. And then he starts crying and he starts telling me the story that his uncle had molested him when he was growing up. And so obviously that like freaked me out because I've been such a fan my whole life of Johnny Depp. And I just I didn't know what to say. And so then, he just like embraces me and hugs me, and he keeps going through all these traumatic moments about him and his uncle. And it started to make sense as to why like Depp's whole family that lives on this cul-de-sac, his like sisters stay there, his aunts stay there, all his employees stay there. The only person that doesn't stay there is Billy. And I always thought that was weird. Like, yo, why aren't you living on the cul-de-sac? He would live in Thousand Oaks. So he'd have to drive like an hour away. He would say, I don't want Depp, I don't want my uncle to be around my kids because he's a pervert and he's a creep. Right. So as I started to think about, as I'm writing the book about Johnny Depp going visiting all these kids in the Captain Jack Sparrow costume, all the Disney stuff that he did, right? And to think about him, and I have to say alleged because it is hearsay. This is his nephew telling me this, right? I wasn't there, but his nephew is crying, like a baby, and he ends up quitting, right? The next day because he had told me the story. He wouldn't even see me. I was like, bro, let's get together. Let's talk about what you told me. He's like, man, I don't want to do this, bro. I'm so stressed out. So he quits the project. I keep the project going. We get on like Grammy.com, on like Forbes, and we're like buzzing. The project is still going on with Adam because I wanted to continue to move forward. Right. And then all of a sudden, Depp and his nephew calls me on FaceTime, and he's like, Depp says, if you release this project and you continue to go on with this project, I'm going to break your jaw in two places and we're going to fuck you up. And that was weird, right? Coming from somebody like Johnny Depp.
Right. That sounds very weird.
I was like, I was kind of like shook, but at the same time, like, damn, bro, this is where I'm such a threat to these people that that they're giving me these threats. Plus, Depp was canceled pretty much at the time, right? With Amber Heard and all the other shit that he was going through.
Right.
So I was like, fuck you, because at the same time I started to think, if this motherfucker, if Johnny Depp comes and tries to fuck me up and I get beat up, I'm gonna get millions of dollars. I'm gonna sue fucking Captain Jack Sparrow. So I was like, it's a win-win, right? So
Right.
plus he was too drunk anyways, and he's like 60 years old. And I'm a big dude. I would fuck Johnny Depp up. I'm gonna keep it real. But anyways, even though I wear like fucking pigtails and dress funky and all that other shit, like don't get it twisted. But I put it out, and then that's when his publicist, whose name is Melissa Nathan, she's been out in the news lately with the Blake Lively stuff, and she's been getting aired out and exposed. All of a sudden, we stopped getting press, and she's also Drake's publicist. And the Biggie project that I was doing at the time, that started to get mad weird. And I was trying to resolve the issues, even though like the weirdo guy like hit on me and, did the most. I was still trying to work it out with like Valletta and the rest of the members of the estate. But Melissa Nathan, she shut it down. So she shut down. She was one of the people. So as I'm going through this book, the team that I have, they have like lawyers, investigative journalists, and everything else who's been vetting out the projects, and they've been giving me answers. And I'm able to get these answers because of platforms like you who have, given me the light and the exposure, to talk to people. So I feel like I've came down on hip hop so much, right? But I'm not talking about people like Johnny Depp, who I feel are the real creeps, and the real PDF files, and the real people who are over those hip hop people. Because the people that I met with Johnny Depp, you have Leonardo DiCaprio, you have Marilyn Manson, you have Matthew McConaughey, You have the highest level at CAA and William Morris Agency. So he's part of that upper echelon, right? Of
Right.
of those people that are, some really disgusting, men. So we've
Not
learned
Matthew McConaughey.
no, but he's friends with all these people. Matthew
Okay.
McConaughey's listen, he's the man. He just parties hard. But I'm just saying,
Okay.
those are the people that they're friends with. And I don't think Matthew McConaughey knows like about Depp. I don't think there's no way, because he seems to have a lot of integrity. But it's Johnny Depp. Those are the type of people that he hangs around with. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly.
Those,
Because Matthew and Freedom Jones, man, that's my movie there. So I was like,
yeah,
okay.
listen. Yeah, I'm just talking about the people that he knows, that
Right.
power. I don't
Mhm.
think anybody knows. And that's why I wanted to talk about this, because he needs to be exposed. You guys get so many type of viewers, right? So many type of people listening. Maybe it'll bring other people from coming forward, some other kids that Depp has abused, because abusers really just don't stop at their nephew,
Right.
right?
Right.